some people shows up. I know this is my fault. We had a link, a shareable link up until now, and then we we didn't use that. So it's kind of normal that people don't even know that we are live right now or where. But this always happens to me with the live streams. Even last time with Bella, same thing. We had to go to the phone because the setup didn't work. Let me see if I can see the chat. And now my image doubled. Sweet. Hi guys. Yeah, not as I was saying, not many people, but we fucked up the live stream again. Inventor, how to build your own EQ? You're asking the wrong person because I got mine built by Nocturne Audio. It's called the MixbusTv EQ. I don't know anything about electronics. I don't build my gear. I can barely change the voltage on, when I moved from Europe to here, I almost blown up all my gear because of course I didn't remember there was 220 and 120 voltage difference, so I almost plugged all my gear with that. How am I? Oh, I'm a bit tired, Alex. A bit tired, a lot of work these days. A lot of events, a lot of meetings for Bella mostly. We are about to shoot a new video actually. That's interesting. Like if there was work is good. Yeah, work is way too much actually. Um, well, I think I can use this for a bit update. For a bit of a quick update. Like if you remember the last I will get to the Dion settings. If you follow the last live stream with Bella, we finished at that time a video, the first single, everything. We were ready to go with promotion, but I decided not to use it for a bunch of reasons. I am, of course, not just even the producer. I am the everything there. So I have a lot of responsibilities, not just with the artist, not just the artistic part, but also the commercial part. So for a reason I cannot explain, we basically put the whole thing aside. So full production, single, done, video shot, everything. And for now, it's gonna sit there. We have a new single, which is a lot better. And we're gonna shoot the video in a few days. And the release is gonna be Q1. It's gonna be absolutely amazing. And that single actually started a whole collection of new songs that are absolutely amazing. She started writing, she found this inspiration and she started writing like every day so much. So we have so much material and such a high quality material. It's not even funny. But yeah, Q1 will release the first single. She's not here, of course, today. We will once I figure out this streaming bullshit, because we can get it to work ever, but we will. So, a couple of questions. Can you tell us all settings on Dione, bus compressor, tech release, gain reduction, side chain? Sure. If I turn it on, hold on. I can see the last one. Oh, this is so weird for me. No, I know why I have it. I have it this way. I have ratio 2. I never used ratio 2. It's because I had the successor in on. Usually for 2 bus on my Dione, my settings are attack at 10 or 30, between 2 and 6 dB of gain reduction, so I do push into it a lot. Release is always 0.1 or 0.3, so very fast. And my most common sidechain filter is a 150, so just the HPF filter. And sometimes I use T1 and T2. And the THD, so the saturation, is usually a med for EDM and hard-hitting tracks, not rock, EDM. Electronic, my THD is a high. I pushed into it a lot. Fully wet, I don't do parallel compression on the 2-bus, I hate it. What else? Nothing. I usually tend not to use the makeup gain. So yeah, that's it. I usually compress those 2 to 6 dB, and then I don't compensate for that. I like that my mixes are a little lower when going to the 2-bus chain. Hold on a second, guys. Stay here. All right, back again. This is the worst live stream ever. Alexei, so yeah, I was saying on my back on my 2-bus, I don't compensate for the level. I like my mix coming from my 2-bus chain that is a little lower in level. It doesn't trick me into thinking that it's better just because it's louder. What about Team Composer for Bella? I actually just listened to the songs, some of them, a few days ago, and there are some that are interesting. I am going to reply to them. Like I said, things were on halt because of the change we did for the single. So even the style that I was looking for changed. But there are some good songs in there. I received so many emails. I started looking into them. I replied to some people. Eventually, I will reply to everybody. Cornelis, hi, late to the game. No, you're not late. It was a big mess today. I'm curious about aliasing. You mentioned that oversampling is perhaps not the best way to avoid it. Also, is aliasing something to worry about in this day and age? So I am not that expert on the technical side on how to avoid aliasing, because that is a programmer job. I'm not. I just reported what a guy that I trust, a programmer that I trust, told me about it, but I didn't dig into it because aliasing today, it's not really a problem. It was a problem in the very first generation of saturator and plugin emulation that had distortion, because it was a new technology, was a new thing, so they did not do anything to avoid that. Very few plugins today have aliasing problems in that regard. Most of them, they take care of it internally, they take care of it, whether it's oversampling or not. Like I said, I'm not that technically savvy in that field, coding, but most of them, they do take care of the aliasing themselves. I know it's a it's not, a sexy answer, but if you don't hear it, if you don't hear a problem at the end of the mix, I'm not saying like go into each plugin and like try to hear alias. That's bullshit. It's not what I mean. But if while you're mixing and you're using plugins, you don't hear anything strange, aliasing, and even if you do, most likely it's not aliasing. But aliasing, no, I don't feel like it's a problem today at all. Spin that back. Uh, yeah, I hit the dione very hard, and I hit the knees hard too. Remember, I always have the knees before my dione. Um, Spin up. Which saturation plugin for digital users you advise? All of them. Saturation is such a program depending kind of processing that I don't think I have. I like compressors, and obviously I have a lot. And right now I have 3 boxes out there of compressor, like two more distressor just got here. All my drummer gear, like I have so many compressors, it's ridiculous. And I have many plug-in compressors, but probably I have more, if not the same, at least digital saturator, because yeah, you can get the most versatile ones, which are again, Wave Sapphira. Even if the GUI is nothing like sexy, that plugin is one of the most versatile saturator ever. And I always, like, people ask me for mastering, for mastering, for mastering. That's it. That's the a very clean saturator that, if you want, doesn't change that much the material, the tone of it, and just add richness to it. And Sapphira is a really good plugin. Ozone Exciter is one that I really like, although you got to pay attention with that. It adds level. It's a multi-band. You can make it, one band, but it doesn't really work well. It's meant to be multi-band. That's how I feel about it. And it's great. Just pay attention to, how it sounds, what it does. Fab Filter is great. If you use a couple of algorithms are great. I'm not a fan of all of them. But regardless, even if you get the most versatile ones, and a new one, a very good new one, is may or may not about to come out. Decapitator is another good one. But even if you get the most versatile ones, the saturators is something you need to have in, like, large quantity. That's what I feel. Okay, hold on. T-Rex saturator, having a lot of fun with that. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest, but I know people like it. Acoustica Audio Crimson is a great saturator. I never tried it. I don't like their way to register plugin. I tried one and it gave me a headache. Just me, but again, why would you do mixes master still sound squashed, small, and very quiet? Any tips? Oh, your mix and master still sound squashed, small, and very quiet because you squashed them, probably. If you squash them, if they sound squashed, it's because they are squashed. So probably check out the overall gain reduction that you're doing. Check your stereo elements if it sounds small. Maybe you have too many, maybe you have too little. Very quiet. For quiet, look at my loudness video. That's the most comprehensive and the best guide for achieving loudness, whether in mixing, mastering. I'm sorry for the noises. They're doing works, of course, next to me because they had to do it when I was live. What do you think of ghost producers? I have ghost producers for Bella. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has ghost producers. It's a great way. Not everybody, first of all, not everybody wants to be in the spotlight. There's people out there that just want to do their work and then go out and, be left alone. Not everybody is out for notoriety and, being recognized on the street. First of all. Second, ghost producers, like any big producers right now, has a team, and it's a good thing, because I was one of those guys that, especially when I was in a band, that I tend to do all by myself because I was like stubborn as fuck, and that it doesn't work unless you are an absolute genius. And most likely you're not, like, not you, like me as well. Most people are not musical geniuses that they can do all by themselves. And even those people, I think they would probably gain something in collaborating with other people. I mean, look at Rick Rubin. All the artists that he works with are geniuses, brilliant musicians, and yet they work with them because when you find people that has this kind of open mind, they're so open-minded, they're so knowledgeable, they're so inspired. Um, you always gain something in collaborating. So ghost producers all day. Um, Absolutely. Ghost producers doesn't mean they don't get credits or recognition. They just mean they work behind the scene. They again maybe they don't want to be recognized. Maybe they don't allow them. But if they're good and they want to be, at some point they want to put their faces out, they will be able to. So I'm all for it. Uh, Plugin Alliance Black Box is another great saturator. No, I don't like it at all. I don't like the brand. I don't like most of their plugins. Wave Sapphire is pretty CPU heavy, but yeah, it's super versatile. Yeah, it is. Okay. Sidechain. Where I lost the point. I lost the questions. Okay, sidechain compression or dynamic EQ. Should I worry about just ducking certain frequencies on drums? Yeah, sometimes. I mean, dynamic EQ on drums, dynamic EQ is more something you want to use on long-term audio events. Bass, vocals, guitars, synth, because maybe you have a recurring frequency that it's there on one note and not on the other note, and then the next note again, and then the next note is not again. Drums is pretty static. The snare doesn't change pitch, the kick doesn't change pitch, the toms don't change pitch. So a dynamic EQ on drums, I don't really see the point. I don't think I've ever used it, unless you have, for example, overheads and you want to control the hi-hats or one of the cymbals. In that case, yes, because in the overheads you have the whole drum. So maybe if you notch the top end with a static EQ, you take away the punch on the snare. So you might want to use a dynamic EQ for controlling cymbals, hi-hats, or maybe the snare itself that is too high in the overheads. But for single tracks on drums, I don't see that. Dynamic EQ is more for long-term events. No problem, Cornelis. Playotech Aroma is a CPU light alternative of both of those. Yeah, remember, guys, saturation is a pretty complex processing, so CPU is necessary. You want a good alternative? The Klangelm SDRR. That's another great, very versatile saturator. It's more on the color side. I like waves because it can be really subtle. But I like, others too. By the way, there are two new effects. Talking about saturation and strange saturation, there are two new effects that I just installed yesterday. One is called Cassette and one is called VHS. They are super fun. Check them out. Well, I'll review them so you will see them. But they're super fun, especially the Cassette one. Will you probably compress the track? Okay, forget name tags. T-Rex is quite fine, especially Master 6 and Master 12 settings. I'm not saying the saturation X is bad. I'm saying I don't know. I remember some settings, they just don't break that nicely. And some other are just, I don't know, plain collection of harmonics. There's nothing really exciting on and about it, for what I can remember. It's not bad, just a digital EQ for low and high cut that is super transparent. Oxford Sonnox EQ. That's a really, really good EQ. Fab Filter. Have you tried at was Fab Filter? Have you tried the different settings, the zero latency, the natural phase? Because for example, for me, I like the zero latency better than the natural phase. I don't know why. But the other alternative, if you want like a high-end EQ, and you do have such a sensitive ear that you hear that, the DMG equilibrium, the filters on that one is insane. That's such a high quality EQ. I don't use it because I get lost into it. It has so many curves and so many options that I stop mixing and I start fucking up with it for like 2 hours. And the day is gone and I didn't do anything. But it's an amazing EQ, DMG equilibrium. Um, Thinking about photos, correction with Photoshop Fantasy, what's better? Boring for real music or complete fake but marvelous? Okay, inventor. So it's better, like he's asking, it's better real music, but not perfect, but completely fake and marvelous. Both, because nowadays we have market for both. The super candy pop, and that is completely fake. Like people don't even sing; they just speak the words and then they tune it like from scratch. I've seen it. So there's not even an effort to sing. You don't even need a singer. And everything is fake and everything is perfect and everything's candy polished. And that's a style. People like it. People buy it. Well, stream it. It makes money. So I don't like it myself. I like much more like play. You know me, guys. I'm all for like playing instrument and real performance. Even when I edit metal, I don't go to grid, or I try to keep the original drum. And you saw the Sonox, the new gate, like such an amazing gate. It makes me not want to use plug samples anymore, because you can get real drum like so perfectly and sound so natural. But they both have a place in the music market and the music business. The music business is a business, so you have both. Personal taste, yeah, I'm not a fan of the fake but perfect, of course. So this is the thing though. Most people that are into music, they are either musician, engineers, arrangers, players. They don't like that, and they are very vocal about it. The problem is the general population that don't do music themselves, don't know how to play, don't care of how a track is done. They don't care what monitors you use. They don't care what hardware you use. They don't care about anything uh, about the music making process. They just listen to music. They like that stuff, and it doesn't matter how many times you say, "Oh, this is like all fake," and it's all autotune and it's all like on grid and all like MIDI, and they go like, "I don't care. I like it. I don't care how it's made." So it's our community that cares about the fake, the over processed stuff, because we have a trained ear, so we hear how it's done and how was done, and we are not, we kind of go like this, because like that it's so cheesy and so cheap. But the general population that go to clubs and want to dance, they don't give rat's ass about how it's done, so they like it. Okay. All right. What is it? Oh my God. So we got some people, even though we completely fucked up the live stream like twice. Hold on. Let me go through the questions, guys. Oh my God, now you are too many. I can't keep up. Natural phase. Okay, so Cubase Pro 10 here. Do you like the X32, the Behringer mixer, you mean? I never tried it. I know a lot of people likes it though. Um, mm, mm, mm. I don't like the brand. No, I don't. If you knew what I know. It's the DigiDesign 03 that outdated over a Focusrite 212. Well, the DigiDesign is a bit outdated, yeah. It definitely. Right now, for cheap, you can get such a high quality. I don't remember the DG03. I think it has 8 input. You can get an 8 input for like so cheap right now. If you want to go like really high quality, you get a Motu like mine. But if you saw like in that box, I have also the Arturia New 8 Pre, which is like $700. The Scarlett, I use a Scarlett. The 212, it should be a 2-channel, right? So if you only need a 2-channel, like you can get it for so cheap. Like the quality is so much better than the 03. The DigiDesign old, interfaces weren't that great. Seriously. The Capitator is the best saturation sat VST on the market, hands down. No, it's just another saturator. It's a good one. It's just, it's great. I like other saturator just as much. Saturation, there's not one saturator that is better than the other. Saturation is way too program depending for for a plugin to be the best. It's the best that day on that track. I can assure you the next day you won't. How to become a ghost producer for Bell. I want to try to my skill of a composer if you let me. Send tracks. Send me music. Send me music. Send me music, and just if you follow the channel, so I have done a quite popular video like last week on how to, what was it called? It is a mixing tutorial on vocals. I used one of our tracks that I'm working on. That is the style I'm going with there now. And not just for the single, for the next 12 songs. Because she wrote 30 songs like that. And they are absolutely mind-blowing. Her songwriting, and she's a top liner, so she doesn't write the music. That's why I need people. I want people. I don't need people. I want people. She's a top liner. So she just sit there and crank 4 songs in one day. And it's funny because I had some people, oh, if she needs help, she can help you and all your crew. Bella's songwriting got so good, it's crazy. And I know why, and only I know why. Nobody else, but she's absolutely great. Her songwriting it got so good. That's why we changed single, because of her songwriting, we got a whole different deal for her. So as to become part of the team, send me music, listen to that the song in that video. It's mixing vocals, or you think you can mix vocals, something like that. It's not more than 10 days ago or something like that on the channel. I'm using her song there, so if you listen to that song, to that snip of the song, you understand the style I'm going for, which is a very slow, I don't know how to call it. It's a very slow, emotional, beat-based style. Very minimalistic arrangement. And this is I already have 6 songs with them in that style recorded. So I want that to be the style. Very minimalistic, pianos, synth pads. I want to like crumbed arrangement, slow beat, very emotional, suspense. That song is a good flagship for what I'm looking now for Bella. Send me songs without top line, just chord progression and arrangement. Me and her, we do the top line. So that's what I look for her. Snares. You don't like Brainworks? They have some incredible plugins. For example, the SSL channel strip, Neve channel strip, Focusrite channel strip. I like the Waves channel strip. I know people will say, "Oh, the other one is a lot better. Is a lot better." Not for me. Um, I don't know. I'm used to the waves. There's one specific trick that it does that it just reminds me of the real SSL that I worked on with the threshold in the compression session. I like the G channel a lot because of the divider in the low range. I like how it sounds. I'm used to how it reacts. Um, I use it on every channel. I don't want something that is like super colored, and I want something that is a workhorse for an SSL. The SSL consoles they were never meant to be colored or a character piece of gear. They were meant to be workhorses. The reason because SSL got popular because they were crazy routing, crazy in a good way. You could send everything to everywhere. You can. They had a compressor for every channel, a gate for every channel, a full parametric EQ, filters. That's why SSL console started to pop up on every studio. Not because they had like a character of an API of a Neve. So that's what I want. And the behavior for me of the SSL waves, it's still the best. Maybe because I'm used to it. I don't know. But that brand do have few plugins that I absolutely love. Most of them, no, I don't. They do good promotion though. I use X32 for my interface. A lot of people like that thing. Do you use Drummer 1978? Would you like to get it for 2 bus? I would like to get it for 2 bus. Opinion on that. Okay, so let me remember the numbers because I have the 74 here, the 76 here, and the 78 and 3 are in the boxes. Still, I'm getting another unit from Drummer. I can't say anything though, but I like. Okay, so the 78, so the 73 is the multiband. The 78 is the tone shaping. I would use it for 2 bus. I did use it. If you okay, so it's an extremely versatile compressor. It's not a spanky compressor, so don't think as a substitute of an SSL style, or is a FET compressor. But the FET color that it has, the saturation that it has, is very fuzzy and warm and round and vintagey, and not vintage like, for example, the Heritage successor. That is a diode bridge and it's like thick and just so present with the color. It's very subtle, but it rounds off the material. The 1978 Drummer, it rounds off the material really nicely. It can be the release can be tailored so well, so it has no pumping. So overall is a compressor that is on the soft side, and you can shape the side chain as it has so many options, and you can actually use the EQ as an EQ on the output instead of the side chain. So I would totally use it on the 2 bus. You need the right kind of song. I wouldn't. I want to say I wouldn't use it on EDM because I did. It's helpful like material that is too harsh. That works very well. I would in material that is very fast. That's where I probably wouldn't be my choice. But anything like on the ballads or even hip hop is that's a great compressor for hip hop. Don't look for the punch from it. Maybe put an SSL on drums and that on the 2 bus. But if you want that round sound, that gluey factor, like fuzzy and warm, the 78 is a great compressor for 2 bus. All right, what we have. I'm using whatever. Switzerland, love your channel. Thank you. I don't know how to read that name. Greetings from Switzerland. Nigeria. Hi, guys. How did you fight depression with no friends and family? I do have a lot of friends. My family, I don't have because I don't have it. I also moved. The only family member that I had was in Europe, but I'm not depressed, so I don't really have to fight depression right now. But I do have a lot of friends. Why don't you like Plugin Alliance? It's a long story. Well, it's not a long story. I actually did a review of one of their plugins once, which was not a review. I was actually doing a live stream, and one of their plugins popped up um, in my email. They just released it, and I was like, hey, yeah, okay, let's try it live. And I wasn't impressed with it. I didn't say that it was like complete shit or anything. It was like they actually have good plugins. This one is not up to, whatever. And they got so pissed at me, like 12 years old pissed. And such behavior that it's like, are you guys serious? But yeah, that's why it's just, I don't like companies to do that. And I don't give a damn. So I just didn't engage. But I also have the right to say whatever the fuck I want. And if one day I feel like, saying more, I will. And maybe I will. But aside from that, I'm an honest, straight up guy. I like their SPL EQ, the Mag EQ, and the Alpha. What else? Maybe there are a couple of other ones. But to me, they have a lot of cool GUI, and they do marketing well. And there are so many other plugin companies that do better. That's just what I think. And, aside from the incident that they were like so pissed because I didn't love their new plugins, fuck off, And like I said, I didn't feel like engaging in whatever. We are talking mixing in the box. I don't know what you're referring to. Cam Lane. Do you get most of your saturation when tracking from your 542? I don't track almost at all. Right now, I only track Bella's vocals. And I don't use the 542s when tracking with her or anything else. I never track with the Neebs. They're way too colored. They're way too heavy on the response curve with the low bump. Even if you take it out, then you don't have the saturation. I never track with the 542s. I only mix into them. But right now I'm not tracking. I'm only tracking Bella's vocals. And with her, I don't saturate her vocal on the way in because it's not her style. It's not the style that I want for her vocal. Let me think. I have a new unit for her that I'm using for tracking her vocal. But it's NDA until NAMM. I have it because the company gave it to me. It's mind-blowing, but I cannot say anything until NAMM. I'm sorry. But if you're looking to buy a piece of gear that you can use like as a standalone to record a mono stereo source, and I cannot say anything more, just wait a second, because that unit is badass. But yeah, I am lucky enough. The company loves me, and they sent me this unit to have, to review and to keep. And it's amazing. I'm using it for vocals. It has a little bit of color, that unit, just enough for me to like it on her vocal, but nothing like the 542s. I wouldn't use the 542s for tracking at all, ever. They're way too heavy on the saturation. I only mix with them. Soul Studio Sunny Boy, can you compress my body, make like your body? I can try, but just come to my gym. Luis Guzman, random question, but do you ever have a headache and need to work? If so, how you deal with that? I am very, very, very lucky. I probably got 5 headaches in my life. I don't get headache almost at all. The only, and especially not from music or even at high volumes. I don't mix at high volumes that often, but I'm very lucky in that regard. I never like, I can be sick, which I don't often. I can have any kind of whatever discomfort. I usually I'm the kind of guy that everything, all the stress that I have, it goes in my stomach. So it's most likely that I have cramps, heartburns, stuff like that. And my stomach is always messed up, like 24/7, like seriously. So I'm like bottles of pills on any kind of medication for my stomach because I tend to process my body, process the stress in my stomach. I'm a Virgo, probably has something to do, I don't know, but I don't get headache. Um, the few times that I did, it's because maybe I didn't, sleep for 3 days, like 3 nights, 4 days, or I didn't eat. Like I ate 1,000 calories in like 3 days, and my body just shuts down. But I don't get. I know that a lot of people get headaches, and because I don't have experience myself, I wouldn't. I don't feel like advising anything. If it was like stomach problems, sure, I'm gonna give you a list of all the meds you can take because I did it all. But headache, I don't feel anything aside from Advil, Benadryl to make it go away. But I also have a high tolerance to meds. So when I have to take like even a painkiller, I had to take an elephant dose. Like if I had to take a painkiller, I had to take 3 times a day, double the dose. So I don't take my advices on that. Kush make great tools. Yeah, I actually the only experience I have with Kush stuff is the Clariphonic plugin. It was amazing. I really loved it. Uh, yeah, whatever. Brain works, whatever. Seriously. Uh, uh, sorry, YouTube just censored a comment. Pangeneer. SDRR is really fucking good, but it's not that subtle as you said. Yeah, but it's still good. What kind of computer and how much RAM do you have to handle your sessions? I don't remember. I have an i7 base compressor, and I think I have 32 gigs of RAM, something like that. Oh, 64, I think. Six. Yeah. Do I? I don't remember. Let me check. Yeah, 64. This is the computer that I have in my old studio. I'm probably gonna change it, but it runs at top 40%. Remember, plugins, you need CPU power. RAM is only if you use VSTs. So for me that I'm mixing, I don't need that much RAM. Okay, I need fast hard drives and a lot of CPU power. That's what you need when you mix. When you compose and use a crap load of VSTs, that's when you need RAM. Okay, so this is an important differences. What else? What would you rate the most analog sounding compressor? Like which compressor does really sound like a hardware unit or really close? I'm assuming you need you talk about plugins. One is definitely the MJUC. That thing is off the hook. I should think about it. This is gonna sound weird, but the Dynamite, Soft tube makes really good sound, like analog like sounding compressors. Soft tube, the TL100A, the Summit Audio, that is great. Wave CL76 pretty much behaves like the hardware. What else? The new Varimu that I reviewed, the Pulsar Audio, that's a very clean, good Varimu-like compressor. What else? I'm forgetting. The Pi compressor from Waves is a great, close emulation, just analog vibe in general. What else? I should take a look. I don't remember. Analog like. But the most analog sounding compressor is probably the MJUC. By the way, next week or this week is gonna a news. So announcement. I've been working this time on making the most comprehensive, biggest, and better guide on compression and compressors. It's a series of videos, probably around 8 to 10. So it's I will in this series that the first episode is going to come out next week or this week. There's going to be all the types of compressor explained, all the differences, all the models, most expensive, cheapest, best, how to use them, when to use them, why to do certain things with one instead of the other. What are the classics, why they are classics, and what are the new versions. All this, both for hardware and plugins. So it's going to be the biggest, most comprehensive guide on compression and compressors that has ever been made, like bar none. So stay tuned for that. The first episode is gonna come. Okay. Enough with the plugin alliance bullshit, please. Should I get the drummer for low and high cut? Should I get the drummer for low and a high cut? You mean the EQ? The EQ is absolutely brilliant design. I love it to pieces. It sounds amazing. It's so versatile. It's on every mix that I do since I have it. It's a great mix EQ. It's a great two-bus mixing EQ. I absolutely love it. I genuinely love it. Like, seriously. And the high cut, low cut, the high cut starts at 32. So, on the moon. The low cut starts at 10, and the slopes are versatile. They sound so musical. I absolutely love this EQ. The drummer, I can only advise you to get it. The fact that it has that price is ridiculous to me, because it should cost twice and it would be a deal too, still. Fab filter for transparent. Fab filter is like you could have just a fab filter EQ, to be honest, and be done. You know, that's not a question. Fab filter is the GOAT, but also this is not how it works. You know, we need different tools, because sometimes, yeah, fab filter is great, but if you want certain things, if you want the API bump at 75 on the 550B, it takes you 3 minutes to do it with, you know, fab filter. So semi-parametric EQs, like the API, Neves, the Classic, the Pooltech, they already have curves and frequency selected for a reason, because they work on everything. So that's why we have those, because we don't want to waste time, like, you know, setting up a full parametric EQ like fab filter to get that sound when you just click and open it and you have it. Or like the SSL trick on the frequency divider at the bottom. Can you do it with the fab filter? Sure. You don't have the saturation still. You don't have, you know, the variable Q and all that. But yeah, for transparency, it's great. But, you know, we need different tools. There's a reason, because we need different tools. The Rocket, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Cam Lane, the Rocket 8s are too big. Loving the successor. Yes, I believe for, yeah, this compressor is stupid. This compressor is absolutely stupid. I love it so much. And stay tuned, because Heritage is sending me another unit to show you guys, and it's really cool. We'll have some stuff from Heritage to I will have some stuff from Heritage to show you, but this one, yeah, I couldn't let it go. It sounds so great. It sounds great. Do you master or use isotope? Yeah, I do master. These days I master a lot, almost as much as I mix. Well, probably more, because I'm not that much focused on my mixing career anymore right now, because of Bella, and that takes 60 to 70% of my time, because I want to, because it's such a big project, and you know, that I don't focus on my mixing that much anymore. Like I was before, that was 90%, 80% of my time. It's not anymore. So I pick and choose the stuff that I want to mix. Actually, one of my last mixes just came out yesterday. Reagan Romance, Powerman 5000, Ty Oliver's Reagan Romance featuring Sammy Dahl from AMX. I mixed the whole thing. The one before was Daniel Graves aesthetic perfection. So I pick and choose what I mix. You know, it's more fun. I get to work with top artists, great talents, and because I'm in a position which I can do it, and my focus right now is on, you know, a little more on that other project. But I do master a lot. I do master a lot. Like shout out to Whitefire Tour. I mixed what 4 tracks for him in the past months. Mean EDM tracks. I had so much fun mastering them. They're stupid good. So yeah, I do. I do master. I don't. Do I use Ozone? I use whatever I need to use. Actually, my mastering chain is kind of a secret. I don't. I don't. I never revealed it, and I don't think I'll ever will. um, Lush, please tell me what the name of the audio reactive light sitting on your monitor beside you. This one? I have 2. I have another one here. And I have 150. When the room is gonna be ready, I will have so many damn lights in here that it's gonna look like a club. And they are all audio, they're all audio reactive, but I will link it to you because I should have it here. Let me see if I have the link to those. Do I? Hold on a second. I thought I had him. No, I don't. I don't. I will link it. I will link it. Shit, I don't have my phone. I don't have the link right now. I will try to find it and put it like in this video in the description for this light. A lot of people ask me about it. Lush Audio 81 on my drum bus. I don't know what that is. Is the Sonic Gate even better than our Vox? Great question. Superior drummer. I love the Kush audio. Okay, 81 is the Kush audio. I think it's the compressor. Oh my goodness. Where are we? Sonic's Gate, Superior drummer. Might be a stupid question, but do you have a set method when you set up a compressor? Still trying to figure out mine. Any advice for a newbie like me? No, I don't have a method. I can give you a method for a beginner. Right now, I don't even think. I just move. It's like second nature when I set a compressor. Even because I know my compressor so well that I already know what I want and I know how to get it. It takes me like 2 seconds. 5 if I'm in a bad day. But for a newbie, start with it's the same thing. Start with a high ratio, very slow attack, and midway release, and then start putting down the threshold until you hear the compression, and then set the attack first. Okay, release if you're going to release it, you don't want like super fast. Start, you know, lowering the time of the attack until you hear what you want, like how much transient passes. From there, set with the high ratio and a lot of compression go, when you set the release, and depending on what you want, if you want a leveler so you don't want to hear pumping, or if you want to hear pumping, or if you want it super fast, set the release. And then at that point, you decide if the ratio is okay, you just lower the threshold to reach the amount of gain reduction that you want, or you lower the threshold, you lower the ratio because you want a more gentle compression. Keep in mind that some compressors, when you change the ratio, they also change the knee. So for example, the SSL and the 1176 at 4 ratio have, the SSL has like this knee, like hard-ish knee. But if you put it at 2, the knee starts to be round like this. And 1.5 is even rounder. So it starts compressing more like below the threshold than it does at 4. So pay attention to that. All right. Our Vox is an amazing plugin, and our compressor too. Our compressor is still one of my favorite. Like when I have to get a mix done and I have no time and I have to make sure that it sounds good, that's it. Our Voxar compressor, they're always there. Authenticity versus artificial, the debate never hand. I don't think it's a debate. There's both. Sometimes you have to do use artificial techniques to reproduce what's authentic, because when we record things, our ears are never close to the snare or close to the guitar cab. So we record that way, and then we have to fake things so that when we listen to the playback, it sounds like it's we are not like with the ear close to the instrument, but we are in the room. So we fake in mixing. I always say we fake in order to make things sound realistic, because our ears and our head and the way we perceive music is never going to be a mic or a multi-mic section, setup. Okay. What's on your master bus these days? Is Neves, as usual, 542s, then Dione, and then Drummer 1974 EQ. That's my two bus. Lately, just because right now I don't have my desk, so it's coming in a couple of weeks, hopefully, because there's been 2 months delay. When I have everything set up, that might change, but for now, sometimes I put the successor after the Dione and before the EQ, just to use the makeup gain without compression on my two bus, because that thing is insane. So that's what on my two bus right now. What do you think of the better? Okay, so hold on. DJ physics, not that it matters, but what would you prefer, analog mastering to plug-in mastering? I use both. I don't prefer any, not one or the other. For EDM and electronic music, I actually tend to stay in the box as a choice because it sounds better to me. But it's literally 50-50 for me. For mastering especially, for mixing, no, I need to go analog, period. I can mix it in the box 100%, but I want analog. It's just the way I work. It sounds better to me still with the stuff that I have. But for mastering, 50-50 for me. There's no difference. So as in 50% of the time I prefer plugins, and 50% of the time I want to add like a 1 or 2 units, or like hit my Crane Song converter hard, or use the processing on board. What do you think of the Better Maker Master and EQ? Better Maker make good stuff on the transparent side. I never tried the EQ, so I'm sorry I can't say anything about it. What's your analog vocal chain? Do you EQ and compress on coming in? I compress, I don't EQ. The only time I EQ, I use the chop shop filters. If the top end is a little too much or the bottom end is a little too much. I don't use filters on the mic. I use these filters. That's why I have them. And they're amazing. Chop shop, louder than Litoff. But I don't EQ vocals on the way in. I do compress the vocals on the way in. Yeah. And my vocal chain, it depends. I use the SM7 a lot with the API 512 a lot. And my compressor, if I have my gear with me, it's either a distressor or the Golden Age 2A, which is amazing. I don't care how much it costs. I preferred it to Teltronix LA2A at least 2 or 3 times. So those are the two. Oh, the West Audio Mimas for vocals, especially rap vocals. I tracked Diesel with that. It was like radio ready. So the 1176, yeah, is a choice for me. Is the Mima. So my vocal chain is that. For Bella, I use several mics, from the SM7 to the U48 to a Jeffel. But her is a whole different story. No other singers like her, so it's like a little bit complicated. But yeah, I use the SM7 a lot. I don't have a 8 vocal chain. I like the CL1B on vocals if I have, if I can get my hand on it. I don't EQ though. Only filters if needed. And Compression, yes, for sure. Cam Lane, David, when you're not doing nothing, check out my recordings on Reverb Nation. I would love to when I do nothing, which doesn't happen, but I will keep that in mind, I promise. Modo drums for AK Multimedia. Um, I never tried it. I saw the hardware, a Guitar Center, but I never tried it. When the Theta Fate, when sidechain compressing drum, should I use a compressor or dynamic EQ? I said it before, compressor, not dynamic EQ. Just search my name, okay? Matthew Wace would disagree with you about the decapitator. I assure you, no offense, I would take his advice over yours. Yeah, I don't give a damn. uh, it's silly, completely. That's the kind of close-mindedness that I can't stand. The best in audio, there's no best every day. Period. There's no best every day. Otherwise, we wouldn't have such a large variety of plugins and machines and microphones and preamps and compressors and EQ and converters and monitors and headphones. Like, if there was a best, we would use all that all day. So I just, it makes me laugh when someone says, "Oh, that's the best, period," or hands down. Especially in something like saturation. Really? No. But sure, go ahead, take Matthew's advice over mine. I couldn't care less. Have you ever used Avalon 737 on vocals? Yes, I did. I had it in a studio in Europe I was working on in Florence for a long time. I had one actually parked on my old studio from a producer. A lot of people shit on it. It has been in so many records that it doesn't matter what you think, it works. It has a specific sound. It has a pillowy sound, a very soft sound that might not be up to date anymore because now, trends and vocals changed. I wasn't a big fan of it, but it's a good machine. Very, very slow, very pillowy. So it's funny because I don't know if many people know, but one of the reasons because it got so popular, it's because at some point, I don't remember if it was Sweetwater or Guitar Center, they kind of had a lot in stock. So back in the years, so they run a promotion, they run a bundle. So they were selling the U87 with the Avalon 737 as a bundle at a lower price. So that's why a lot of people ended up with that channel strip in their rack. And then because so many people had it, especially here in LA, like a lot of people started to use it on big artists, so it got very popular. But that's also why it got so common, in studios, the Avalon 737. Anthony Lee, so interesting what you say about the program-dependent network saturation. Yeah, anything. I mean, you can take whoever advice on saturation as you want, not you, like the Matthew Wace guy. I'm pretty sure I was one of the first one, if not the first one, and to introduce the concept of saturation in mixing here. And my video on loudness, it's arguably the best explanation on how to use it and why to use it and when. So I feel like saying I kind of have a little bit of experience with saturation, and the first thing you learn when you start working with saturation is like, no, that it's program dependent. Every day could change. Every note could change. So is the Decapitator good? Sure. It's the best? No. But there's no best. Like I said, like right now, there's two new plugins that I'm using. I will review them like in a couple of days. One's called Cassette and one is called VHS. They're like $10 for God's sake, and in some tracks, those are the best saturators for those tracks. What is the best saturator? The best saturator for what? For it's no. Yeah, there's nothing as program dependent as saturation, because of, think about like what collection of harmonics. That's why I like the Waves Sapphira. you can see what harmonics is adding, odds and even, and the intensity of it going higher in the frequency range. So you have a visual representation of it. And it's not just that, it's how dynamic the saturation is. SDRR is a great example of that. They're so dynamic, it reacts to the material, even to some saturators react too much to saturation, so that you can't, like, if you have a very dynamic track, you can put it, like, you need to split it, otherwise, it goes well for one and not for the other part. So yeah, saturation, if you don't know that saturation is program dependent, like highly program dependent, you know very little about saturation. Okay, give us some settings for audio compression over long term, the kind of to even compiled final track. Audio compression over long term. That I think you're referring to like kind of a leveler thing. In that case, if you watched my review of the Heritage, that the closest thing that I can think about to give a starting point would be that the way I use something like that in 1.5 ratio. And the alpha compressor is another one because it starts very low, like you can go 1.2, you leave the attack very slow, like not very, but yeah, even 50 milliseconds, and then 1 to 2 to 3 dB of compression, and a slow release, soft curve, soft knee. This way you want to hit the threshold so that the compressor is most time is working. It's not like a VCA punch that is working maybe like on the chorus and on the verse, like maybe hitting a couple of times, and then on the bridge or the big parts start compressing and not on the softer part. You want the long term compressor to just flow, go with the flow of the song. So always keep the material down, and that's why I like, for that task, I like compressors that have a gain reduction limit. So if you use one that has, if you use it on some, if you use this leveler on a song that is very dynamic, you go in the loudest part and you set the gain reduction limit to 3 dB. So you can compress the softer part by 3 dB, and then when you go to the loudest part, the compressor will not compress more than 3 dB. But yeah, those would be the settings for a level like. Do you like X effects on or micing cabs? I like both. I think the X, the fractal, is still the best sounding guitar alternative to cab and mic and tube heads. Like the best by a long shot. I like it more than the Camper. I like it more than plugins. I like more than anything. And whenever I receive guitar tracks that are recorded with X, 9 times out of 10 they sound great. So I absolutely love the Fractal X. I would actually, would want to get one at some point. I would love to play guitar on your stuff. Yeah, send me stuff, man. What's your opinion on the virtual microphone system? I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the virtual microphone systems, plural. And also, I'm not a fan of the virtual preamps thing, because it's your front end is your front end. There is one thing you want to spend damn money on, is that, get a good mic, get a good pre. If you don't, you don't necessarily need color, like especially for preamps, a transparent preamp like the Motu preamp, they have so much headroom, they're so clean, they will work on everything. And then you can color with whatever you want after. But it's not like I want to emulate that pre. Although the Arturia pre are great saturator, I don't see them as I think it's a matter of semantic for me. The microphone system and the preamps thing, I think it's the marketing that I don't like. You can't do that. You can't. You can get the frequency response, you can get some other things in it, but you record with the mic, that is your front end. That is the last, I don't know, boundary that we have. We can't get to emulate or trick or substitute with something. You need a good mic, you need a good preamp. Dude, you do music, just buy a good mic and a good preamp. How hard is that? You know, and then everything else is mixing. Everything else is mixing. You want a color and mix. Okay? It's the way a microphone, a membrane, responds to a vocal or any other source is unique to that mic. Technology went so, you know, it's amazing right now, the things we can do. But the physics of a membrane, the way it handles dynamics, that you cannot do it after. You can't do it after. It's, I don't know, to me it sounds just, you know, it's a form of EQ, it's a form of processing. Can be creative, absolutely. Use the microphone system to like come up with a new sound or whatever. But is the, you know, is the marketing, is like, oh, record with this and turn it into a U87. That I just, you know, it maybe work because I don't have that much experience. I tried the thousands, whatever this is called, his name, and I don't think it's a system, an emulation. It's just you can change pattern and stuff. That's great, but it's the emulation thing that I don't, you know, I don't like. What a lot of people do. So, but to me, if I want to I like, especially today, we record 1 or 2 tracks at a time. Just buy 2 damn good preamps. You know, I have API, I have like Heritage on the boxes, and otherwise, you just go for clean. Today, we have like so many great clean preamps that are so cheap, and you get, you know, if you don't, you get, you know, I review these. That's when I'm gonna break things. The cloud filters, whatever problem you have with a preamp, you put one of these in, and you have all the gain that you want, and then in mixing you do whatever you want. Okay. Question: what is the point of creating a submix group or whatever you prefer to call it and applying EQ compression clip per limiter instead of the master fader? A submix bus. Well, if you send all your mix to the submix bus, then there's no difference. Then apply all that there or on the master fader. You refer to my MixBus bus. I do it because on Pro Tools the inserts are post fader or pre fader. You know, the only different track is the master track. So that's why I put my processing. I create a submix and I put my processing in there, because the master fader on Pro Tools is the only track that is different where it puts the inserts. But if you send all your mix to that subgroup, that makes no difference. You send different things to different groups, then yes, that's different. But if you send all your mix in that, no, that makes no sense. Can you explain why Rupert Neve says the only thing separating hardware from software plugins is the sampling rate to capture all the nuances? That I will never ever comment on something like that said by Rupert Neve. I don't think that's the only problem, because if it was only a problem of CPU power to be able to capture sampling rate and capture all the nuances, I don't think it's that. I think it's just hardware changes when it gets hot. You know, it's a living thing. Digital can have nonlinearities and randomization and stuff, and we are getting so close that in a mix, I don't think it makes any difference if you take away few key pieces right now. It's more a matter of workflow, especially for people like me that are used to working with analog. I'm so much faster, okay? And so I don't think that's, but I will never comment on something that Rupert Neve said. Like, he has his reasons for it, and I have too much respect for him to say anything. So, All right, drummer stuff is great. You're willing to pay. Well, drummer stuff is great if you're willing to pay for it. Yeah, like everything else. Drummer stuff is so damn cheap. It's not even funny. Like, drummer is not expensive, guys. Like, their units go for about 1,000 average, and the multiband for like 13, 1,400. That's nothing. That is like, for the quality it has in drummer, that's nothing. Um, Try to buy a Mali Varimute compressor. That's like 4 or 5 grand, and it's worth it. But what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of like looking at the big numbers in hardware, drummer's nowhere near an expensive brand. You will see, like I told you, like the biggest, most comprehensive guide on compressors and compressors coming out, series of videos. In there, I put the most expensive, the best, and the cheapest compressors. So you'll see some numbers there, like what's expensive. All right. Skyman Beats, hi David, I have the Baxi Q. What do you think about the Tegeler Cream versus Baxi Q plus Dangerous compressor? Okay, I had the Cream. I tried the Baxi Q pretty extensively. I did not try the Dangerous compressor. I heard it like once. It's a very, very clean, transparent compressor. The differences between the Tegeler Cream, okay, so the Dangerous compressor is a VCA compressor, but it's not necessarily an SSL style compressor. It's an extremely transparent, very versatile compressor, great unit. Has some very unique functions that it's what made it popular, and it's good. The Cream is a SSL compressor with the Pultec style EQ on top of it, just the boost section. So there's no cuts. They're just, the smiley curve. That's it. So the Tegeler Cream is a specific unit. The EQ is not a full Pultec EQ, it's a boost EQ. Of course, the Tegeler Cream is fairly the Tegeler Cream is a fairly clean unit. I would say the EQ is cleaner than the backs. I think the compressor, the Dangerous compressor plus the Bax EQ will give you obviously more versatility than the Tegeler Cream. With that said, the Tegeler Cream sounds amazing and also costs a lot less than the other two options. So if you got the money, yeah, you get what you pay for. Like the Bax and the Dangerous compressor will make the price skyrocket compared to the Cream, but they will give you more versatility for sure. They're both on the clean side, so it's not that you can probably do anything you can do with the Cream with the Dangerous and Bax, but not the other way around. So when I say it's more versatile, it's because of that. But of course, you pay more for the Dangerous stuff. Okay. Such a good audio, and Lulu Al, such a good audio engineer. I don't get why you push Bella so much. She's a very mediocre vocalist. You can work with a much better artist, and I think you're very talented. Thank you, but I can assure you, it's hard. You can't judge for whatever she is. I can assure you, I've never produced anybody. I mean, not the way I'm doing with her, and she's an absolutely unique talent, and I've been convinced of it for like a year, and the more I go on and the more I am sure of that, and I also have feedbacks from big people in the industry about it. You haven't heard anything from her. You really don't know. Nobody can know at this point in time. What I leaked, there's a reason because I leaked it, and only I know the reasons for it. So no, believe me, thank you for the compliments, but Bella is off the hook. And she's an absolutely great songwriter. That's the other thing. It's not just a matter of vocals. Hey David, greetings from Portugal. You have ever tracked guitars from a Kemper profiler? Would you like to hear your thoughts? Okay, so I mixed tracks recorded with a Kemper, and I was saying before, between that and the X, I always like the X better. The Kemper, I have more experience hearing the Kemper live at shows, especially here in LA. A lot of people have them. Like eight out of 10 bands I see, they have a Kemper. And live, I was never a fan, but also, we're talking about not like gigantic, but I don't know. I like, they could be, it could be my luck that I found people that don't really know how to set it or what profile to use. But live, I never was that impressed, given especially the fact that in the same setup, the same night, another band was like using, I don't know, a diesel amp or a Marshall head, and they sounded great. Mixing Kemper, same feeling. There was also always something that it didn't really fit with my taste, my style. There was something missing. But I think the Kemper is more, I don't know, convenience thing than all out, I want the best sound. But I really don't have that much experience with it. The little that I have, it didn't blow my mind. While, for example, the Axe, every time, and I'm not sponsored, the Axe, every time I heard or mixed tracks recorded with the Axe, I like that very much. Rock and metal. That's my experience with the two, both of them. So rock and metal sounds, not any other sound. So I cannot comment on any other sound. Thank you, Spectre Ball. I enjoy your mixing channel. The Clariphonic hardware is a game changer. It's a good unit. I recommend long cables so computer stays outside the room. Yeah, maybe. I'll think about it. My computer is very silent. I never had any computer-related problems like being close to me or in the same room. It's not like an SSL power supply that you have to have like AC on it, and it has like 150 dB of noise. Bob Horn has a computer next to his desk. Like a lot of people, just unless you have a noisy computer, it's not really a problem. You need a modern mobile for recording. My i7 has become too slow in the last 3 years. I'm going to upgrade with a. It depends. Like why the motherboard? It depends on. I don't know. Oh, for recording, maybe I don't record that much, so I don't know. I'm not commenting on that. The clanging is amazing. What are your favorite converters? Crane Song Head, which is what I have for like printing masters and stuff. I love Crane Song Head. The processing on board, it's still at the top of the food chain for me. I love the Burl, and I'm actually thinking about looking into it and maybe get it. I love the the gold, the Labrie Gold and the black. That's it. This is for 2 channels, of course, for like printing final mix or mastering. As far as mixing or recording, I'm using Motu, I'm using SSL. They're all like perfectly fine. I've used Apogee. They're absolutely great. Converters like today, if you take the top of the line, like the ones that I just mentioned, like Crane Song, now there's the Quantum that is insane. The Burl, the Lavry, all the converters, like my Motu has insanely good converters. So even the high rank on the interfaces today has great converters. If you compare the converters we had 10 years ago on the top of the line with the ones we have today, or even 20 years ago, like 20 years ago was 2000. So it wasn't like 1917, right? We have such a high quality. And in 2000, we were making great records. In 2010, we were making great records. And converters were so much worse than today. And they were costing a lot more than today. See my point? So today, they're cheap. They are cheap and high quality. But my favorites are those. Head, Crane Song, Burl, and Labrie. Renzo Datel For tracking in low latency, it is better for a better, more cores or lower, higher frequency processor. For tracking in low latency, I think more cores, and mostly for low latency. It depends on how you're connected. Of course, now there's Thunderbolt and the drivers. That's the key factor for low latency. So your manufacturer, the manufacturer of your interface drivers, I have experience with Motu, RME. They can go really low. Arturia, I didn't test the speed, but the companies that make like solid drivers, that's what you want for low latency. Do you prefer B76 over CLA76? Hell no. The BF76, the bomb factory, has nothing to do with the real 76. The CLA76 is arguably one of my favorite emulation. Not necessarily because it's the closest to the hardware, but because it just works on damn every vocal. It's stupid. And I like that it has the blue and the black. I love the CLA76. One of my favorite vocal compressors. The BF76 is a very quirky, strange sounding compressor. It has its uses. A lot of people use it. I get mixes from especially musicians and artists. They have it stock in Pro Tools, so they put it on. And when they send me the tracks, it's like the BF76 is there. I was like, what am I gonna do with that? But no, I don't prefer it at all. The CLA76 is actually really, really good. I'm also thinking of the 1974 drummer for Mix EQ. Yeah, get it. Drummer 1974 parametric stereo EQ. Whatever question you ask me about it, the answer is just get it. I love this EQ so much. PewTech, I like it. It's a good plugin. I like the high end more than the low end, but because I'm spoiled with the low end, and I do have a real Pultec. I have the West Audio Prometheus Pultec, which is amazing. But for a plugin, PewTech is really good. I like the high end. I'm not a fan of the low end that much, but the high end is really good. Yeah, the series on compressor is gonna be like gigantic. It's gonna be at least 6-7 videos with everything you can possibly want to know about compression and compressors, and then some. We cover all the topologies, so not just the FET, opto, vari-mu, and all that, but PMW, diode bridge, all the old compressors, the new one, for both plugins and hardware, and what are the best for each topology, both hardware and plugins, what are most expensive and the cheapest. All right, what else? What do you do if you are given uneven, out of tune tempo stuff, and you know that you will have to spend more time on it, that it's would worth you leave it as original? Don't give a shit. So I mix. I mix. I don't edit. That's the producer job. The producer job is to get the material on the mix engineer table exactly how he wants him to be mixed. In the shape that, those things are not a mix engineer job. I know, like, it's a gray area, but if you're a mix engineer, you don't tune, and you don't, edit tempo. When it did happen to me that, tracks that were out of tune or out of tempo landed on my desk, I grabbed the phone, I called the producer, and I said, dude, this vocal is out of tune. Are you gonna tune it and resend it to me, or you want me to mix it this way? Most time, they tune it. If it's one vowel or 2 words, of course I'm gonna tune it, but if it's the whole thing, no. And same for like a kick or a drums or a bass, there's like a couple of notes that are off because they missed them. That's fine, and you do it. You just, it's a collaboration. It's not we are enemies. But if it's the whole thing, or maybe an album like that, that's not my job. And if you are asked to do it and you want to do it, you should be paid more. You should be paid for the editing part and then for the mixing. So it's not the same job at all. It is not a mix engineer job. Any thoughts on the 1000 Lab Sphere L22? I did see them and try them quickly in NAMM last year. I think it's a great technology, and they make high quality stuff. The idea is pretty brilliant to me. Not recording that much anymore. I'm not like really, I can't say much more because I don't have it myself. I just tried it quickly, but for what I know, what I saw, and the little they explained to me on NAMM, it's a pretty impressive technology. So it has, I can vouch for them for that. Have you tried the Drummer Multiband by Softtube? The 1973? No, because I have the hardware and I never got around the plugin. But Softtube, I love it. I love Softtube plugins, so I cannot imagine they did not do a great job. How do you like the JBLs? I edit on them. You don't see them, but I have this part. I have my main monitors, my Eve, which I can't show you anything. I can't show you the room. I can show you anything until my desk is here. But I have my main Eve, the LP8, and the Genelec 1033 in front of me. Like if I look at this part, that's what I mix on. These I had them because since I don't have the desks, nothing fits on my desk, not even the whiteys. So I edit on them. That's it. I don't mix on them. I did a couple of like mixes back then. They're okay. Akalis are better. Okay, let me see. What would be perfect for pitch and catch interface wise? I'm in the box now for now, but I really want the drummer EQ. Pitch and catch, well, you want the Lilo, the Lynx Lilo, the little square one. I think you can do pitch and catch in one unit. That is a really good cost-effective unit if you want to do that. I personally use the Crane Song, and that would be my choice. Yeah, it depends on what's your budget. You can go Lavery Black, ADDA, to catch and pitch. These are the choices. What else? Dangerous make the converters too. I don't have any experience with that. I know Dangerous makes good stuff. It's a little pricey, but my first choices would be Crane Song. Look into the Lynx Lilo, the little square one, because I'm pretty sure you can do both pitch and catch from one unit. Right now I'm coming out, when I print, I'm coming out from my Motu for the DA and catching into the Crane Song. So that's an option too. Renzo Detail, I'd like to know, he used to have Adams in his older video. Yeah, I used to have Adam and I never clicked on it. And looking back, I wonder why the hell I kept doing that. I think I like challenge, like I'm stubborn. So even if, I knew there wasn't the monitors that I was feeling comfortable with, I just, as a matter of like, proving a point, I just wanted to keep them and get the mix done there anyway. I never click with them. The high end is like weird, the low end is weird. Eve Audio is a different planet. And granted that I have the SC3012, the gigantic mains, but I also use the smaller monitors and they're great. And same for Kali, they're like so different because the Eve have the ribbon tweeter, which is completely different than the Adam. Completely. Like Adam is laser focused. If you move your head like this, can't hear anything. Eve has such a wide, sweet spot. It's fantastic. And the Kali are completely different than that, so completely different reference. I'm so happy with these two together. And I have my Genelec 1031, the old wood model, just because I had them for so long and I know them so well. But I never clicked with Adam, ever. Your opinion on Yamaha HS series? Never heard them like enough to express an opinion on. I'm sorry. What happened, George TS? Hi, David. What happened with the video series you started at Echo Bar Studios? You stopped them. It wasn't a serious, really. I was at Echo because I was hanging out. I was hanging out. My Eve monitors, the main monitors were in Bob's room, so I was mixing there from time to time, and they were like doing videos because I was there a lot. But it was never a serious, really. It was never serious. Maybe we'll do something else together. Um, all right, Gianluca. Hey, David. Hope you're fine. Have you got any video dissecting your favorite binaural plugins? Do you have any tips when dealing with those tool like phase issues? I don't really have that much experience. I think I found one that I liked for binaural, but that's it. The problem is like the processing behind the binaural plugins, it's a lot more complicated than just phase issues or like phase shifts in those plugins. It's what makes the sound of them, among other processing behind, under the hood that I don't know nothing about. So you shouldn't try. My point is, you shouldn't try to use a binaural plugin and then fix the phase issues because it's not how it works. That's the sound of it, and it's used for effects. So live with the fact when you use an effect like that you will have some monocompatibility problems, so to speak, which is not a problem. It's the normal behavior of an effect like that. So in mono, one speakers, you're probably not gonna hear it, or you're gonna lose some effect on that. That's gonna be normal. Hold on a second, I need a USB cable, if I can find one. Yes, okay. So don't try to fix phase issue or monocompatibility on binaural plugins, because those are effects. You take them as they are. Jay Gua, dealing with white noise in EDM mix. I like the use of white noise in snares and stuff. And even in all my, I'm sorry, even in my mixes for Reagan Romance, I do it. I don't know what you mean by dealing with white noise. I like to add the white noise to like hits and snares and special sounds. Band pass it because it takes a lot of space and it makes a lot of headroom. So band pass it, filter it if you want, but there's nothing to deal with other than level. Okay, volume is everything. 50% of mixes is just volume. Do you use Elysia stuff other than the saturator? I don't. I don't have any Elysia stuff. I used to have the compressor, and I loved it, but I have so many damn compressors, hardware, that I literally don't know where to put them, because even my new desk is already full because of all the gear that I have on the floor. So this one is gonna be full already, so I literally don't know where to put it, and I don't need all those compressors. So it was a great one, but I never had the saturator of Elysia. I tried the plugin and I didn't really like it. I had the Elysia EQ too, but it has, for me, a problem with headroom. It has too little headroom, and I was trying to run it as a two bus, like I'm running right now the drummer, but that one wouldn't take the level. The X, what is it called? The Elysia EQ 500 series, but the rack version has the same problem, so to speak. So the headroom is still low, and I know it because I actually asked them. I asked Elysia, and it was like, hey, if I get the rack version, I'm gonna like have the same problem. And it was, and they were like, yeah, same thing, same design. I was like, ah, sorry, I gotta let this go. Any books on audio that you would recommend? No, I don't know about any books out there. I would, yeah, and actually the only one would be Mixer Man, and I didn't read it myself, but he's a cool guy, and I know like many people love that book. So if there's one that I would advise, is like Mixer Man. I know Al Schmidt wrote one, and it was bestseller for a long time. Just out of respect that I have for Al, I would say check that out too. I didn't have the chance to read it, but I don't have the chance to do anything but work, so that's never a problem for me. I got no time for anything. If you had to have only one mic for metal, what would it be? It would be this one, which is exactly what I have. The only mic that I actually own myself, because I use it so often on so many things. Shure SM7, not a question for me. And if you think about, like, James Hetfield, Metallica recording on it, System of a Down singer recording on it, Sergi, actually hi Sergi, we met a couple of times. Corey Taylor at some point, Slipknot. What else? Like, and another billion metal bands recorded with the SM7. SM7 is the metal mic. Curious if you do, how do you deal with latency and timing differences when using analog gear and bringing it back in the box? Enjoyed your successful video. Cheers. I am Pattison. I don't have any problem with that. I have zero problem with latency and timing. If you set up your hardware correctly, and it's very dangerous if you have it, because you don't deal with that. You don't have to have it, otherwise you have a problem in the system. When you use hardware insert, you have to be compensated like to the sample. Otherwise, literally, the reason because you're using hardware, it goes in the trash the moment that you're not synced. So you're better off never using that if you're not synced. Okay, so in Pro Tools, you set your hardware latency, hardware insert latency. You do a round trip, ADDA. You go out, go back in, you measure it, and then there's a tab in Pro Tools in the I/O settings that lets you input for each channel, the amount of latency, the latency that you need to compensate. And of course, if you don't have any digital units, that's going to be the same number for all the channels. Okay, so when you go out, it's like the ADDA trip, because full analog units like these, they don't have latency at all. So the only latency that you have is your ADDA trip. They allow you to put different numbers because if, for example, you have an effect unit, a digital effect, like a lexicon or a TC electronic unit that has an inherent latency in itself. So it's in the manual. So at that point, you need to add that too. So let's say your ADDA trip is 1.8 milliseconds. Let's narrow it down to 2 milliseconds. And the unit itself has another 4 milliseconds of latency because the digital unit needs time to process stuff. So you add the total amount, the 2 plus 4. But if you don't have any digital unit, you measure once your ADDA trip, you measure the latency, you compensate, and you're set for life. You never change it. You shouldn't have any problems with the ADDA trip. If you do, that's a big problem, because every time you try to parallel, things are gonna go to shit like in 1 second. All right, Chris Walker, there was this video where you played metal guitar in a pretty big studio. Which band was that? Would love to hear that. I'm sorry, Chris Walker, that is a part of my past that I don't want to dig into. Yeah, I played guitars. I wrote songs and sang and all that. But yeah, let's not let's not talk about it. Have you modified the Golden Age 2A? No, I didn't, and I absolutely love it as is. I know you can do swap tubes and stuff. I don't bother. I have so many compressors that I don't feel the need to like dig into modifying compressors like that. I generally love the 2A, like a lot. It's a great compressor. Vocals, you can pin them down. It's like crazy. I really like it. I like the 3A too, but not as much as the 2A. Renzo Dital, when you say you like the CL1B on vocals, do you prefer the hardware version? Yes. I meant tracking with it. But I do love the plugin, the Softtube, but I prefer the Summit plugin-wise to their CL1B. They're both great. I like the Summit better. The Summit plugin, it's scary. It's really, really good, you know? Between that and the MJUC and the CLA 76 and probably a couple that I'm forgetting, that's like you have all that you need for vocals. You know, they're great. It's the plugin is great. I like the Summit TL108 better from Softtube. And yeah, tracking with the CL1B, that's crazy. All right. And yeah, I meant direct. If Ribson666, if artists had performed weak, do you sacrifice your nerves and time for excessive editing and rescue, or just copy paste, don't care, leaving artists think it's in the own level? It depends what kind of relationship you have with the artist. If the artist perform, so if you are the producer, you decide these things. If you're the mix engineer, you mix what you're given. And maybe if there's a weak chorus and the previous is better, you ask the producer, hey, can I copy paste? Because that one sounds like ass. But if you, it depends on the style. Like editing, it's so common today. And so, yeah, most times you just edit. It's a matter of time management. If you are in the studio and the artist, if you're a good producer, the first 5 seconds, if the artist can perform better in the next 30 minutes, or if he's going to do the same things over and over and over for the next 6 hours. So if you're a good producer, you have to see the potential of the artist. Are we gonna spend the whole day in studio and you're not gonna get any better? Because at that point, I have to edit anyway. Let's cut it short and go home. If instead you see like you need to put the artist in a comfortable, you know, mood, or get a different headphone mix or a different sound or whatever, put a fucking speakers next to him blowing music, whatever you have to do, if you can see that if you do something, if you do the right thing, you're gonna get the performance out of him, then it's always better to try to get the performance out of him. Like for me with Bella, like whatever I have to do to get the performance out of her, it needs to be done, because when she delivers, it's so great that it's worth it. And no editing or copying and pasting will do anything like that. For instrument, it's a little bit different. Editing is so common. And yeah, sometimes if there's no hope, you just copy paste and edit. That's what we do. And the client is happy, the producer is happy. Who cares? You know, ethic in studio most times stays out of the door. All right. Aren't most virtual mic system more like a curves thrown on it? Yeah, they are. Mojordan TV, yes, system emulation sounds fake and just a coup, blah, blah, blah. New Calis behind you, how do you feel about them? I still have to sit down and really like review them and think about them. For now, I really enjoy the way they sound. They sound pretty balanced, very pleasant, not tiring at all. As the LP8, great stereo image, wide sweet spot. I didn't test them like hardcore. I just listened to music on them. So yeah, and the setup is temporary right now until I have my desk, but I really like them. They're really different from the LP8. Somebody says, oh, they have just more bass, the LP8. No, they're not. They're like very different. So like so different that I have both, and I'm keeping both because I have 2 references. And probably I'll keep them on the side just because, you know, my desk is already full. I will still have gear on the side. I like to have a reference on the side. Just even in the room, it sounds so much different. But I really like them. I will review them though. In what country are you located? I'm in Los Angeles, California. I want a manly just cause. Me too. Okay, we're almost at the end because it's kind of late. Oh wow, it's 3, but I fucked up. Do you ever tried UAD? What's your opinion? I never tried it. Like I never had it myself. I tried it in a few studios here and there, friends' places. For what is my experience, which is very little, they sound great. I don't like the fact that you're tied to the hardware. That is just still here for me. But they do sound great. I'm not like I'm not. I'm okay. I'm talking about just the plugins. The interfaces, I don't have experience with them. I have my interfaces of choice, and that's what I like. The plugins sounds great for the little experience that I have. If UAD wants to send some away, we will review them happily. I searched Michael Johnson. I searched for Bella, but too many results. I would love to hear something she has done. You're not going to. All Bella materials is exclusive, under key, and locked until release. The little things that I leaked them for a reason. And like I said before, only I know the reason. Bella's material is nowhere. Anybody can access it. She has a 360 contract with me for a long time, exclusive and bulletproof. So the release is planned for Q1. We are gonna film the video soon, the second video actually, but it's gonna be the first single. So no, you can't hear anything. Nobody can hear anything. Nobody can do anything. It's a very important project. So there's a lot of people involved and big companies, big everything. So, hopefully will be a great project. But right now, no, nobody can touch anything. Okay, Neil Conway, thoughts on Art Pro VL1, VL2. I mostly use plugins, but I want to get hardware compressor. I saw your review on the cheap ones, and I will buy. But interesting thought on the Pro VLA. Yes, I had the Pro VLA 2 for a couple of years, if not more. It's a great, fun compressor. It's a Vectral Opto, so LA2A style-ish. Take it with a grain of salt. It's not an LA2A. But it can be gnarly on drums, for sure. It can be snappy. It's good on vocals. It doesn't take bass well at all. It farts on bass, so keep that in mind. It can be very useful on vocals, fun on drums, on synths. It can be driven, so it can give you like a little color. It's overall a great compressor for the money. It's stereo dual mono. I never had any problems with mine. Don't bother doing the changes, the modification on a $200 compressor because it's not going to make any difference. The tubes are in a place in the circuit in which they make very little difference. So even if you change them, they're not going to change the sound. Actually, I tried to change them, it sounded worse. So go figure. But yeah, if that's your budget, go for it. Totally. Especially for tracking. Keep in mind that there's still the RNC and the RNLA that are great compressors. Like those are a no-brainer. Although I understand what Jason James, although I understand what the balanced panpot and split stereo panpot do, I don't know why would you choose one over the other. I think that's the Ableton thing, right? So the balanced panpot. So when you have a stereo track, you can decide if balance it that way or this way. That's it. So I would think about it like you have a dual mono unit or a stereo unit. Why would you do that? I don't know. Because for me, a stereo track is always panned left and right hard. If it's a stereo track, I don't do this with a stereo track. I do this. I use S1 or another stereo panning plugin, and I move the stereo image around. I don't like to mess with the hard left right on a stereo track. It's a stereo. For me, it's a stereo hard. If I recorded a drum kit with overhead, if I want a narrower stereo image, I will put the mic in a different place. I will put an XY instead of a space pair. That's how I narrow the stereo image. I don't narrow it like this in Pro Tools. Nothing wrong with it. Just my technique, my preference. I'm anal about it. I'm a Virgo, so I have my habits, and just some things just pisses me off, like just because they do, because I'm weird. So I don't like to mess with the hard panning left and right on a stereo track. I would just move it like this. Michael Johnson. Okay, no, he's not talking to me actually. Did on the Hard Pro VLA. I have 4 dBx 160. Looking for more transparent for vocals. Yeah, that's a good transparent for vocals. RNC. Period. What are your thoughts about Untitled products? Never tried them. I know some people had some problems with longevity with those. And that's it. I don't know anything about Untitled. No problem. Silverback audio, I edit, but I turn down the mixes and have them retract all the time. Advice on Ceiling Cloud for mixing room. I have some. You don't see them here, but I have them. Ceiling clouds for mixing room. When I can show you the room, we will talk about it. I have one ceiling cloud right now that is, so this is the wall. It's 90 degree like this. And of course the trap is like this, right? So cut the 90 degrees angles. You should cut the 90 degrees angles in your room as much as possible. For clouds, you want something that is not parallel to the floor. That's if you do it yourself, of course. If you have professional or someone that comes measure, they will know better than I can advise. I'm giving advice if you do it yourself. So just straight panels. You don't need thickness. You can go for 2 or 4 top. You want to put them at the first reflection point. So your monitors, your ears, the cut in the corner in front of you, and maybe another one behind you, the second reflection point. And you want them not parallel to the ground, to the floor. So, you tilt them like that. The angle of tilt, if you do it yourself, just tilt it, unless you can measure and have measure before and after and professional placing stuff, just tilt them so you don't have parallel with the floor. Material wise, I would go either for fiberglass or rock wool. Same thing. You don't need thickness for the ceiling. Some diffusion depending on how high the ceiling is. If it's slow, you might want to put like some diffusion on top of your head, or like between you and the monitors. But the bigger, the better at that point. So if you have a low ceiling diffuser, it's probably going to help, because if the room is small, diffraction will help disperse the sound and not getting you like direct reflection. Or even if you don't have direct reflection because you have the clouds, like the bass trap acoustic panel, like with the fabric and the fiberglass or rock wool, you run the risk of having the room sounding too dull, too dead, which I personally like, but that's just me. Most people don't. Most people enter in my room and they choke because it's so claustrophobic. My mixed room rooms are like this, because I like the room to sound very dead. People enter my rooms and they panic, but most people don't. So for that, diffuser, front and top, would be useful. Placement, height, and thickness. Yeah, the thickness, like I said, the placement I told you. So cut the corner 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3. The monitors, your head and behind, and thickness 2 to 4. For the diffuser, it's gonna be thicker, depending on what kind of diffuser you get, the Skyline or the other type. Height, it depends on your ceiling. You can go like, I cannot say that. It depends how high is your ceiling. What do you prefer, to get a clean 808 in my mix if ain't the main element in a mix? Oh, I don't get the question. Spin that back. What do you prefer to get? A clean 808 in my mix if it ain't the main element in a mix? I don't understand that. What do you think about the Andy Wallace mixing approach? Andy Wallace is God. Andy Wallace is my biggest inspiration. For me, is the biggest, the best mix engineer in the history, period, bar none. And that's why I use the SSL channel on all my on my channels. It's fantastic. Andy Wallace mixes things they sound so natural, so dynamic, and yet so loud and powerful and energetic and balanced well. And the low end he gets is off the hook, perfect circle, the outsider. Check that bass. I mean, come on. And System of a Down, when he rides the overheads and you can feel it, you can hear it. Such a bold move. So Andy is, and his discography, come on, from them or Run DMC and Aerosmith to Slayer and everything in between. Jeff Buckley and System of a Down. Like Andy is, I don't know. We should just sit and listen Andy's all day. At some point in my career, when I was switching from musician to mix engineer, that's when I realized, I was like, okay, who mixed this? I started to look at mixing engineers who mixed this album and mixed that album. And I started to like see Andy Wallace, Andy Wallace, Andy Wallace, Andy Wallace. I was like, okay, so I've been tricked my whole life. I don't like these bands. I like Andy Wallace. And it's stupid, but somewhat it's true, because it's such an imprint. It's such it's crazy though, because he's not like some other big engineers that have a heavy, so recognizable style of mixing that that guy mixed it. Like it's not that heavy of a color coming from him. It's pretty transparent, but there's something in his mixes that you go, oh, he mixed it. That's why it sounds so damn good. It's the other way around. You don't always recognize, oh, that's Andy Wallace. You go like, damn, this mix sounds good. And then who mixed it? Andy, of course. While other mixing engineers say, oh, that's totally his sound. So I love Andy. Because, yeah. So shout out to Andy. Talking about tuning tools, you are more into Melodyne or you use more waves and Terrace type? Melodyne, I think, is the best tuning for straight tuning. Hey David, love your channel. Any advice for someone who mixed since 2-3 years and feels stuck in decision making? I know techniques, but I struggle to know when to use it. That's pretty normal. I gave kind of the same answer someone asked me somewhat the same question when a mix is finished. Give yourself a deadline. Limit your plugin list. Limit your time, and give yourself a deadline. And this is the only way for you to get out of the stuck. Because when you are alone and you don't have a mentor there with you saying, hey, stop, that's okay, or work on it a little bit, it's almost impossible. So you have to get this, be disciplined and limit your plugin list. Don't experiment while you mix. Experiment in your free time and give yourself a deadline. I'm trying to go lower, guys, because I'm gonna go in a little bit and I would like to go see the bottom questions. Which is take unlimited the main vocal channel. I always put limiter on my vocals. Thanks, Nico. Thank you. I understood compression because of you. That's great. Do you have a max point to time you spend mixing to avoid ear fatigue? Yeah. For me, it depending on the mix, but it's usually 6 to 7 hours. That's the maximum. I mean, I can go 12, 14 if I have to, and if the client is there and wants to. But if I have a choice, 6 to 7 hours, that's it. And that's mixing, not editing. Masters in 3 years. I would love to become a full-time master engineer, but I don't know where to start. Where should I start in terms of clients and marketing? Living in Italy may make it harder. Yeah, living in Italy makes it almost impossible. The only advice I can give you is start to build a portfolio, which is gonna be probably working for free for a long time. And talk to artists, talk to producers, talk to label, offer your services for free, and build a portfolio, and then keep doing that. Keep doing that until your stuff it's good enough that people want you. I'm trying to go really quick. Hey David, Justin Lefebvre, do you have any techniques for learning the EQ curve of a room? No, there's no technique to learning the EQ curve of a room, as in you just sit in the room and listen to music all day, all night. I mean, as long as possible. It's experience. Walk around the room, stay in the room, and don't just listen to music. Watch movies, listen to podcasts. Like one good technique is to start listening how, human vocals sound in your room. Just speech. Like I learned a lot about my rooms, like when editing like speeches, or even my videos, or even my voiceovers. Like at that point, it changes your perspective a lot. And when you go mixing vocals in a song, you know how a vocals should sound like a little better. So that's one advice. 90% of metalcore bands use the SM7. Yeah, there's a reason. If a piece of gear adds color and color changes the fundamental tone, do you have to check with artist producer before something? No. No. A color for how thick can be, it doesn't really change the sound that much. An EQ curve could change it a lot more. If you have to check such a thing with a producer, you're gonna have a hell of a day. Because if a producer and a band give you their stuff to mix it, because they do have a degree of trust. If you have to run through them every goddamn piece of color you put in a mix, you're not gonna mix. So no, you don't. Would you, Renzo, would you have liked to use a CL1B on Diesel? No. Diesel is straight 76, period. I couldn't have gotten a more perfect vocal on track than that. No question. Michael Perez, have you tried the Tegeler Schwarzkraft machine? Would you recommend it? Yes, I tried it. Actually, I was here last year for a masterclass and demo of that machine with them. It's off the hook. It's a great sounding machine. It's a brilliant design. So yeah, absolutely, I would recommend it. Yeah, Tegeler gear is great. That one might be arguably their best units. What's the best way to record an analog synth? What piece of hardware straight in the sound card preamp with it? I love API preamps for synths. Go into their line level. You know, that's it. I like the drummer preamps as well. If you want the fuzzy thing, the old ones, Neves are good, but I do like the API preamps for synths. So it's fine if you record with the transparent preamp, but if you have a choice, I love the Heritage preamp as well, especially if you have a little bit of EQ. But 512 for synths. Do you receive any music production education, or you want? No, no, not really. I always say no, but the truth is I did. I did take piano lessons when I was a kid, guitar lessons when I was a kid. Classical though, never like pop or modern. Aside of that, nothing else. But I did it for a few years. Have you ever had a crisis when you questioned the monitoring acoustic setup in the mix? How would you deal with it? Yeah, I did, with A&M monitors. And you move them around, you get another pair of monitors, and you compare, and you try to figure out if it's the room, if it's the monitor, if it's all in your head. But if you feel it, that's my experience. If you feel like that, it's because something is wrong. Okay? You always feel right when you enter in a room that has a right setup, a right monitoring system, and a right treatment. Like right now, this is not finished, but I already feel it. That's the kind of vibe that and the kind of sound that I'm it makes me feel okay. If you feel like something is off, probably something is off. All right. Do you use Dr. Midside plugin on every mix? I use Dr. Midside plugin a lot, not on every mix, and maybe not in mix, but in some other thing, more in mastering. But I have a specific use for that. I use it in mix sometimes, but not on the mix, not on the 2-bus. If I use it in mixes, on single tracks and groups. But I absolutely love Dr. Midside. It's a brilliant plugin. When are you going to see on your Pentano Plays episode? I don't know. Ask Dave. Will LP8 be too big for my room? 5 meters by 3? No. Treated room? No. The LP6, LP8, with that room, they would be both okay. Size-wise. You should try them to understand. It's not a matter of like big. This room is not big, and I have the Eve 13 inches 3-way. So the thing like, oh, the small room, you need small monitors. It's not, unless it's a tiny room, like tiny, it doesn't work like that. People put Genelec soffit mount in a room like this big, so they're like that. You know, big bands, when they want the boom, they bring this crazy shit in small rooms. So both the LP6 and the LP8 would be okay. I have a review of the LP8. I will review the LP6. So wait for that and then try to decide if you cannot try them. Thoughts and opinion on mixing on 5.1 overkill for stereo mixes or advantageous? Zero experience, and I would like to know more, but I don't know about anything about 5.1 or multi-channel. Kiri and Neve preamp and a Q73 gunner, blah, 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 blah. Do you think it's worth me splashing out on it? Great stream. Warm EQ and comp. Voice lives. I don't understand the question. If you have already these units and 1073 and TL102, TLM102 mic and interface, warm EQ and comp. I don't know. I don't understand the question. If you already have it or you want to buy it. Wave TG mastering plane. Wave's TG mastering chain plugins. Any good? Yes, they're good. They're very colored. They're very vintagey vibes. So it's not for everything, but worth it, especially now they're on sale. Black Friday is going to be a great time to buy. Any idea why I lose all the dynamics on the track after adding a limiter? It's 60B too much limited, and what may I do to enhance the dynamics? Don't put a limiter and squash 60B on it. That is your reason. I didn't like the TG. This has been great. Thanks for you. Yeah, okay. Thanks for everybody. Thoughts on universal audio? 710 preamps. They are fairly clean, but I worked on them a little bit, and they are like totally fine. I like them. They are cost effective. They're good. I like them, and they're fairly clean. I don't remember if they have some special feature on them, but they're definitely good. Good multi-channel preamps. I need to go scroll through all the. Let me see where we are. All right, let's take it from here. Avanton CVW. I don't know anything about that mic. I know Taylor Swift use it. I always get a pumping effect on compression. Analog equipment seems to have that effect so bad. In tips on digital music, pumping is a matter of internal sidechain and release. So your release is not set correctly. Either you go slower or faster. Pumping is in between, and it does that. And maybe you want to sidechain something off the low end. It's better for having a stereo movement using a multi-mono compressor instead of a stereo compressor. Few times on some material, you want to use a dual mono compressor on a on the stereo track to keep the stereo width wide. API 2500 has that function. The Drummer 1978 has that function. So it is a thing, yes. pay attention, because it can also shift the mono information, and let you lose punch. So that's why the API has an in-between, like in-between settings. The SSL static compressor is good on Mixbus. Yeah, it's better for having. Okay, we're not the emulation or whatever. Okay, we are at the bottom of it. Lewitt 940. I don't remember how that sound. All right, guys, this is it for this stream. Is more than 2 hours. We completely fucked up the beginning. So we'll try to get it right next time, but it's been a good ride. Thank you everybody for chiming in. Stay tuned for the new series on compression and all that. Stay tuned for a lot of big news. Follow MixbusTv on social media, Instagram, Facebook. Leave your question down below for the rapid fire. Thank you for watching. See you next time.